Hello there and welcome. So today, very quickly, I want to talk about what is known as competence, or rather tapping into what is known as mastery. So in the day-to-day life, in whatever you are doing, you realize that there are actually levels that you need to develop in terms of skills. And most of the time, you might feel that you are stuck while you are doing what you are doing. Now, there are actually four steps that you need to develop or that you need to go through in order for you to tap into mastery or develop what is known as competence. So usually, and I want to use a very simple analogy that will make it easier for you to understand. Think about driving. At first, if you don't know how to drive at all, you are like very green. You are very green. You don't know how to drive at all. And then probably you'll go into a driving school and then you'll be taught how to drive. Now, at first, when you learn how to drive, you will be very keen and very conscious while driving. You'll actually be driving with two hands. You're very keen on the road and everything. And then as time goes by, you're actually getting used to driving. And it will get to a point where you don't have to pay so much keen attention, but you can start the car and you can actually drive without paying much attention to whatever that is going on around the car or even inside the car. Now, if you get to understand all those levels that you'll move to, and some of us get even to a level where they can actually drive with one hand, they can drive while on the phone, they can drive while eating, and you'll realize when you started driving, you couldn't do that. You couldn't drive while eating or while on the phone or while talking to someone. You were just driving, and that was it all. And then you'll maybe go into some other things later. But along the way, you'll develop that skill, and driving becomes so easy. You don't have to be there fully 100%, or you don't have to concentrate with your mind entirely, but you can still drive and go wherever you want to go. Now, that is how developing a skill, becoming competent, or even tapping into mastery is. At first, while you're developing a skill, you'll need to be actually very conscious, pay very keen attention to every step along the way, everything you are doing. If it's words, you'll be paying attention to the words, what is known as choice of words, in order for you to make a lot of sense in whatever you are doing. Now, the first level of actually developing mastery is what is known as unconscious incompetent. Now, unconscious incompetent, this is where you actually don't know that you don't know. I don't know if that makes sense at all to you, but it's actually there. Unconscious incompetent. You don't know what you don't know, and you also don't know that you don't know. Now, think about driving, for example. When you are unconsciously incompetent, someone can give you a car and you cannot even start the car. You don't know the buttons, you don't know the gearbox, you don't know how to move the steering wheel around. You understand? Now that is the first level, unconscious incompetent, where you don't know that you don't know. And after you've started developing this skill, going on forward, you're going to move into a level that is known as conscious incompetent. Now, in conscious incompetent, you are now actually aware. You are actually aware that you don't know. And I think conscious incompetent is a very good place to be, because you actually know that you don't know. And for me, it's a good place to be because you now start seeking for help. You now start seeking for necessary advice. You now start seeking out for necessary mentors who are actually going to guide you and help you develop the necessary skill. And going back a little bit, unconscious incompetent, it's a very dangerous place to be in, because you can actually make a lot of mistakes, very fatal mistakes, and you don't even know that you're making those mistakes. That is unconscious incompetent. But now, when you are consciously incompetent, you know that you don't know, and you can actually start listening to mentors, watching videos, reading books, in order for you to develop in that area. Now, after consciously incompetent, you now move to what is known as conscious competent. Now, conscious competent, that is now where you actually develop the skill. You know what you need to do, or you know how to do it, but you still have to be there 100% while doing it. It's just like driving, the previous example that I used. While you are now consciously competent, You are very conscious while you are driving. You are paying keen attention to the traffic lights, to everything, the steering, the pedal, the brake pedals, the acceleration, and everything. You are very keen. You are fully there, and you don't even want to blink an eye because you're scared. You can make a mistake or you can cause an accident. It's the same. That is what it is known as consciously competent. You are now actually aware of what you are doing, but it's not yet at your fingertips. It's not yet at your fingertips. And then after now being consciously competent, where you have to pay keen attention to your wordings and to every detail that you're dealing with, you now move into mastery. And this is now a very good place to be. And in mastery, that is now what is known as unconscious competent. Now, unconscious competent, just like the previous example I used, now this is like the driver now who can drive the car while on the phone, while taking coffee, while talking to someone. You understand? Now that is what is called as mastery. Now, it's the same all, even with whatever skill that you're developing. You have to move from all the 4 steps. And actually, if I were to summarize them in another way, I would say you have to start with what is known as awareness. After you move from awareness, you go to acceptance. After you move from acceptance, you go into reconditioning. And then now after reconditioning, you now move into mastery. Let me just explain a little bit. Now, awareness, you have to become aware that you don't know. You have to become aware that you are not yet where you want to be. Because when you are aware, it's actually easier for you to move to the next level. And we usually say you can't fight the enemy you don't know. So you have to identify the enemy first in order for you to fight it. You know the necessary tools to use. Now that is what is called as awareness. Now after awareness, you move into acceptance. You are now aware that you don't have the necessary skill. You are now aware that you are not where you want to be. Now you have to accept. And that could be a problem to some people also, because they don't want to accept that they don't know, or they don't want to accept that they are not good in something. But acceptance is a very important thing, or it's a very important skill as far as developing mastery is concerned, because you can't change something that you haven't accepted yet. You have to accept it first as not being where you want it to be, and then you can go ahead and change it. Now after acceptance, you move into reconditioning. Into reconditioning now is where you are now actively and consciously working on changing the previous thing that used to be. You are reconditioning, or rather you are now starting to actively develop the skills, reading books, listening to mentors, seeking out help, the necessary help, and all those things. And now after reconditioning, you now move into mastery. Yeah, that is how I can summarize it in another way. Now, probably the last thing you also need to understand while developing mastery, or while becoming an expert in whatever you're doing, it's also going to take some time. You have to understand and accept that fact. You can't move from unconscious incompetent to unconscious competent probably within a day or within a week. It's impossible in a way, but it also depends very much with the speed or the number of hours or the number of time you're actually committing to do that thing. For example, if I were to teach 2 people how to drive a car, and person A, we frequently meet, probably in a day we meet like for 3 sessions, in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. And then I have person B, who also I'm teaching how to drive, but we only meet once in a fortnight. Now, between the 2 people, who is going to develop or master this driving very quickly? Obviously, it's the first person who we meet for 3 sessions in a day, than the person who we are only meeting 1 time in a fortnight. Now, the frequency is very important. So in whatever you're doing, in whatever skill you are developing, make sure you practice it on a regular basis. You make it a frequent thing so that you can get used to it, so that you can move from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4. So very quickly, I just want to recap everything that I've just said. So I've said there are actually 4 steps of developing, of moving into mastery, or becoming an expert. The first one is unconscious incompetent, where you don't know that you don't know. You don't know that you don't know. And that is the same thing as awareness. You need to become aware. And then the second one is what is called conscious incompetent, where you actually start acknowledging that you don't know, that you need to improve. Now that is what is called acceptance. And then the third step is where you now move into conscious competent. Conscious competent, now you start to recondition, what is called reconditioning. You start looking for help, you start reading books and everything. And the last step now is what is called as mastery or unconscious competent, where you now have the skill, or you can do whatever you are doing, it's at your fingertips, you can do it with your eyes closed and everything. So I hope this was helpful and you learned something, and thank you for watching this video.